I'll keep going. I'm almost finished. First day of school is August the 6th. Like I said, we're 8 weeks away. Our first staff work day will be that Monday. So, we're going to look up, and before you know it, it's going to be time to start school again and be prepared. Obviously, our 6 big dreams with our high expectations on an update for that. I've got those 6 listed: Ready, Set, Grow, early childhood, all students graduate career ready, student leadership, next generation Marion County, one-to-one technology, communicate, market, and connect. At our last board meeting, we were talking about update on progress, and one of the things that was asked is, what does that look like in regards to where could we put a facility so that all 4-year-olds could go to school? Because that's one of the things we have. We want all of our kids to go, and if we had the money to send everyone, where would we put those folks? And I think one of our board members had asked is what that would look like, and I asked Mr. Spalding to do some investigating. And so he's got a little bit of information for us, because I know that that is a dream for this county, so that every 4-year-old can go.
Thank you.
What I'm giving you is the requirements by KDE that requires the facility of a preschool center. And I have spoken with John Thomas in the city of Lebanon about center square usage that we talked about in previous conversations. Currently, St. Catherine's contract expires June 30th. They're in the process of moving out currently. And they're also looking to possibly look at Campbellsville University and some other area schools, but they probably would not occupy the whole facility. So they're wanting to do more of adult learning in there to keep a variety of places going into that facility. The big thing's going to be is preschool requires a playground. So I don't know if they're going to allow us to erect a playground on Center Square facility. So we're looking at a lot of different options. This is going to be, the big dream is for preschool for all, if possible as early as August of 2015. So what we would like to do is set the groundwork now and do the investigation work, and hopefully by spring, preschool registration for the following school year, that we'll be knowing where we're at and what kind of numbers we can occupy. We looked at possibilities of possibly relocating the community ed and indoor education up to Center Square to occupy, give us some more room at the 21st Century facility to utilize already kid-friendly with the playground and whatnot there. Could we possibly utilize it during the day since 21st Century is an after school and summer program? So we're really exploring a lot of options very early in the process to see how to accommodate more 4-year-old students in our preschool program. Folks, this is just a very preliminary guidelines. Then once you get into buildings, you got to meet a lot of specifications as far as ADA and whatnot. But this gives you the guidelines as far as the square footage and facility requirements. So there's a lot more to it than the K-12 age group.
Well, I think we need to keep talking about this and looking.
And we are. Like I said, we've had a lot of conversations, and I've had conversations with John G. May, and we'll be having with David Daugherty in the future as well, since they do own the 21st Century building.
Because I do firmly believe that that's where we can make the biggest gains if we get early childhood.
And Miss Urban also provided some numbers for me, and we are already up to 100 students, correct, sir? And so that means currently, this year we had 5 preschool classrooms, and so we're anticipating that we're going to have a 5 again this year. So we're going to have 2 at Glasscock, 2 at West Marion, and 1 at Lebanon Elementary. And so I would anticipate that we could probably have 5 more. So the question is, where do you physically locate them if we did have the money? Also, the good part is this year is it's time for our facilities planning committee, our district facilities planning committee. So as we have this conversation, it's a good time to do that. And it's great that we've got partners like with the county government and the city government, that they understand the importance of all 4-year-olds participating.
Right. So we're going to lay the foundation work, how buying facilities, and we'll come back with more resources for supplies and teachers and staff.
And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I would assume that what we would want to do is, like Mr. Miles said, we want to continue this conversation. So basically, you're looking at what would a feasibility study look like? What would that look like for facilities? What would it look like for supplies? What would it look like for teachers? Because we can start with, we want them to be ready to start school. We want every child to be ready to start school. That's obviously a milestone. And obviously continue the conversation about what can we do to make sure that learning begins at birth, with a simple message of read to your child 20 minutes minutes a day. Just that simple. That's a good start. So, I do not have any more for my superintendent's report, and I hope it was okay that I had some folks help with that information. I know that's important to our focus on teaching and learning, communication, and high expectations.
The next item on our agenda is the financial report, and Superintendent Slosher will give the financial report.
Okay. Our first item on our financial report is our monthly balance sheet. That's it. Here you go. On our monthly balance sheet, what we're going to be looking at is a comparison of April 2014 to May 2014. And our beginning carry forward balance, as you can see, was down just a little bit. Our total revenues were actually up from 1.8 to a little over 2 million. And then our plus revenues were still down just a little bit, but that was about $13 million. Our total expenditures were up, and our balance of cash on hand was down just a little bit. Part 2 of our balance sheet was actually from our Unis balance sheet. It goes through all our funds. As you can see, our general fund was down $651,000 and some change. And then as you go through our projects, and I may be talking too much, so if I am, I apologize, but I just want to read through this. Our projects were actually, again, 198 versus 129. Our capital outlay was 286 versus 143. Our building fund was 228 versus 50,000 from month to month. But remember, we're comparing April to May. Our debt services, again, that's where we're actually paying for our bonds. Our food service account went from 483 up to 515, and again, that's where our cash on hand comes from. Obviously, we reconcile part 3 is our bank reconciliation, and then obviously the last part is our fixed assets, which is our business. It makes.
Teresa was moving. Teresa, on that, the general fund, is that number that's out of that 651, is that because of the paying to the end of the year?
Yes, because we run that, and we'll pay everybody June, July, and August.
Okay. So that's why that number's so high.
Right. And then the next statement really explains more because it shows line by line.
Okay.
It matches up to
And then
this.
on the building fund, why is that number so high? What come out of that?
The building fund, the 228,
278, it's like, come out,
It's down 278.
yes.
down 278 from 50,000 to 228. I'll be honest, I would have to pull that spreadsheet to look at that. I'm not gonna
That's
quote
just
that
that's a high number out of that fund.
for building. Well, we're not building anything, so I would have to actually pull, I don't have that in front of me. Okay?
If you find that, we can.
I'll be glad to. The next item, the next piece of papers that we're going to look at is actually where we look at our current year versus 2013-14. We'll start out talking about our revenues. And as you can see, our current budget for revenues was 6.3. Our total revenue is actually up from 29 million from last year to 24 million. So we actually have a slight increase. However, you can see that our state sources are up, our local is down just a little bit, and our federal sources are up just a little bit. So even though there's some things that are down, we've got some increases, so that gives us about $5 million more revenue. So that's a positive thing. Our expenses, as you know, 75–80% of our budget goes to personnel because obviously people work with children. So as you can see, our certified salary, we've used actually 73% of that budget at the end of May. And then as you go through, you can see our total salaries for the current year was 16 million, last year it was 11 million. The good part is we've only used 74% of our budget. Now, when you look at overall, that's an increase of $83,000. And then as you go through, then listing just benefits, professional services, other things out of the general fund that we pay for, professional services. Our current budget was $29 million. However, we have only used 55% of our current budget. So what we're hoping for is a nice carry forward balance, because we want to make sure that we keep our contingency where it needs to be. You know, recommended is 5%, but it's nice to have at least 8%. And our next item will be food service. Again, with food service, it's a completely separate fund, and like Mr. Miles pointed out, it is a federally subsidized program for the students who have for free reduced lunch, and then we actually charge. And that'll be one of the things that we do talk about tonight, is what's our lunch price is going to look like. When you look at our food service beginning balance, our current budget was $2.2 million. Our prior year was 2.2, and this year was 2.2, I guess I should say 2.278 and 2.258, which was down about $19,000. I think if you'll remember, as we've gone through this over the course of the year, we have more expenses with our milk and our fresh fruit and vegetables. It's a completely different type of feeding that we're doing now than before, because of the new regulations that have come down from the federal government. There's only certain things you can serve, and you know, it's you go through a bid process. I will say, because I know, because I work with that program, we do an outstanding job of using the commodities that are given to us and converting that into food that, you know, we get chicken and we convert that into the chicken that we eat. We take our tomatoes and we turn that into our tomato paste and our salsa and all that. So we have excellent, you know, we have a great contract with GFS. So we're in really good shape with food service. I don't want to get bragging too much. Somebody may get their feelings hurt if I'm not bragging on them. But our expenses, again, I think what you'll see is they're up a little. The nice part, when you go down and you look at our expenses, we've actually only used 77% of that budget. Again, our certified salaries from this year to last year is up just a little bit. Again, our expenses are up. I think inflation probably is going to hit all of us at one point or time. But we are very self-sufficient, and that would be something that I know that when I was doing this, I was thankful that I had somebody before me that had a good, healthy carry-forward balance, and we have very good managers and staff in place, and we continue to do a good job of that. Yes, sir.
Okay, and so I guess what I'm going to say is, so why are we looking at lunch prices to increase?
The federal government has a tool that you actually have to input the data, and they basically mandate what your price increases are going to be. That's not a decision that comes from Ms. Evans or myself. Basically, there is a PLE tool, and because we get money from the government, you have to fill this out, and it's based on your participation and the amount of money we charge and what's in the bank. It's something that the federal government mandates.
But it's good for the general public to know why we look at lunch price and increasing those, especially when we have a fairly good budget.
We do have a very healthy balance, and I would say that if we looked at our lunchroom prices, they are in a lot better shape than some other folks around us, and our balance is nice too.
And I think to just put it in layman's terms, you know, we get reimbursed by the price of that meal, of the lunches from the federal government. So I think that also is one of the standards.
One thing I'd like to point out that when I was going over the budget is last year we spent about $60,000 on equipment. We bought some combi ovens and some different pieces of equipment that Calvary and Glasscock really needed that made Our cooking more efficient for our children to make sure we have nice hot food. This year, we've not had to buy any equipment. So last year, that was $60,000 taken out of our food service budget, and this year we've not had to do that. So I'm very thankful that our cafeteria ladies have nice, new equipment to provide nice, healthy, hot, nutritional meals. And our district does something that a lot of other districts don't. We basically are feeding our children 12 months a year. Not every district provides summer feeding. And you know, just to say that we feed 14,000 meals in the summertime, that's wonderful. That is a wonderful opportunity that our community has. We have great staff that support that. And when I say staff, that goes for our cafeteria ladies, our schools that support that, our custodians that help clean that up, and our summer school folks that also help provide that and actually have to count off every child that goes through the line. I mean, it is a team effort to make sure our kids are provided instruction and a nice, hot, healthy meal. It's exciting.
Sounds great.
That's it.
I believe that we're at item 15, policy and procedures. This was read, I believe it was read at the last meeting, and tonight. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion that the board approve the policy update 37 and the procedure update number 18.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 16 is Marion County High School Football Boosters Club.
I move that the board allow the reestablishment of the Marion County High School Football Booster Club.
Second.
Are there any?
I would ask, would somebody kind of talk about that a little bit, the reestablishment happened?
Well, as you know, the Red Book laws or the accounting procedures for school activity funds have changed. And one of the things that had to come down from the mandate is that boards of educations had to recognize boosters clubs. If you can remember, we did that with our baseball folks a couple months ago. I see someone in the back that was a part of that. So basically, we're just following procedures with the new Red Book law. And so the football booster club had disbanded. They've contacted us and would like to be reestablished. Jessica Miles will be the president. Jessica Miles is going to be the president.
Okay, very good.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Item 17 is early kindergarten entrance.
Make a motion that the board approve an early kindergarten entrance for a Marion County Public School student, number 2014 EE01.
I second the motion.
Questions, comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 18 is the Cornell and Hignett Insurance. Hope I pronounced that correctly.
Pretty close. That's good.
I move that the board accept a renewal for school insurance from Cornell and Hignett Insurance for fiscal year 2015.
Second.
Any comments?
Yeah, I had the question, since Obamacare and everybody's supposed to have insurance, I was a little bit surprised when I seen that the premium was up a little. I thought maybe it would be down somewhat.
I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Joe Stewart and Judy Besser from Cornell and Hignett Insurance. And we do appreciate the support and confidence that the Marion County Board of Education has shown us this past year. So we do thank you for that. To address your question, a couple of things here did affect the increase. And state average this year on schools, which we participate in probably 50 or more schools around the state of Kentucky, has been around a 10% or maybe a little bit higher increases. This year on Marion County is around 3% overall. And what affected that partly was the state mandated property values increases, which we have no control, no one does, the state mandates that. So those property values had to be increased, which of course affects the premium some. We did have some property losses this year, which did affect it slightly. And we had one that was pretty substantial, I guess. Our work comp, we were able to have some savings there, but then the experience mod, which without getting too deep on what that means and how to calculate that, but it is up just a little bit with some losses there. So overall, great question. We felt good after what we saw was going on around the state. We've been able to hold that down with, it is an increase. And as far as the insurance portion, the biggest part to your question about Obamacare really doesn't affect the property rates or anything to do with vehicles, equipment. The only way it could affect work comp to a degree would be, could affect it negatively and positively, because if the medical costs go up as a result of someone's health insurance or whatever, that could affect the work comp and work comp rates, because we don't handle the health insurance for the district. So it's primarily a property issue and some of the claims that we experienced. Overall, we felt pretty good, only because we have a wide variety. We cover pretty much all the states, so we saw some pretty hefty increases this year. So, but we do appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
What, that's a question.
Okay.
You said there was a large property loss. What did that speak on that?
That was on the
Cooling tower.
cooling tower.
Cooling tower that burnt down.
That burned down, the cooling tower. That was, to us, it was a large loss, but you know, it was significant.
About $61,000.
It was somewhere, I was thinking 60 to 70, but I didn't know. for sure.
6184 to be exact.
Okay, you got it right on it there. But that was the biggest loss of that.
We had-
I've studied your proposal extensively, and the question I have, does that premium notice, does it include $10,000 deductible, our deductible?
Or is it the 5?
No, it's the.
No, that's the 5.
That's the 5.
Where you're looking at the comparison
Yeah.
columns,
Yes.
the 10,000 deductible optional quote shows you how much more savings it would be.
You all had asked last year for an optional quote, and that's one reason we provided that, just for your reference and see how you felt like the comparisons, if it balanced itself. The thing, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. What would be the difference in premium between the $5,000 deductible and the $10,000 deductible? Can you get that?
It was about $5,356 in savings. And a lot of school districts have asked for that, and actually we provided that. It's a toss-up. If we have claims like we had this past year, the 2 losses, we'd have been in bad shape as far as any savings. If we don't have a loss or anything significant, then it's definitely a savings. It's a balancing act. The 2 losses this year, we'd hit those 10,000, we've been 10,000 further in the hole as far as that goes. Good question, but that's one reason we wanted to provide that. Give you something to think about. It's your all's call on that.
Mr. Cecil, from a standpoint of assuming the deductible of 5,000, it's a lot easier to absorb that on a maintenance budget than 10,000. Because we only had 2 claims, and like I said, the one was 61,000 and the other one was only for 15. So at that point, we got to decide, do we make a claim for 5,000 if we have a $10,000 deductible, do we assume the whole $15,000 loss out of the general fund? So 5,000 is probably a pretty safe bet here.
And to compliment the board too.
Do we need to, excuse me?
No, I was just going to compliment the board, and I'll be quiet. Very seldom do we see no losses in the auto section. You all had none. Very commendable of the board and the staff and everyone that participates with that. That's unheard of in schools. Trust me. It is America. So yeah. So I just wanted to comment, not to jinx anybody, just to compliment you.
So do we need to write a notification? It's a $5,000 deductible.
Right.
Okay. Would you make sure that happens, Teresa?
No.
Who made the motion? Mike, you made the motion. Is that okay with you?
Alexis made the motion and Bernard.
Already. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.